Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Duxford Aviation Society, the owners of Concord, and the other 12 airliners here at Duxford, we welcome you to this demonstration of Concord's nose lowering, or droop, as it's correctly called. First, a quick bit about us. Duxford Aviation Society is a registered charity and a partner of the Imperial War Museum, looking after the British airliner collection, of which this fabulous aircraft is part. The Concorde you see before you right now is a very special one. 101 is the British pre-production model, one of two. There was also a French one, each owned by their respective governments. For 5 years, in the first half of the 1970s, the pre-production aircraft carried out extensive testing, developing and refining the airliner before it finally went into service. Our Concorde here is lovingly maintained by the Duxford Aviation Society restoration team. They're all volunteers and they're supported by the Heritage Concorde, a small group of former Concorde employees. Today, we'll take an imaginary 3-hour flight from Heathrow to New York. On the way, we'll demonstrate some of Concorde's features and its achievements. Interesting fact, we'll be cruising some 20,000 feet above the Airbus A380s and all the big Boeings, and up to 800 miles an hour faster. To achieve that sort of speed, Concorde needs to be very streamlined. It looks incredibly elegant, but impractical for certain stages of flight, as we'll explain. So today we have Peter in the cockpit as our pilot. Give us a wave, Peter. Give us a hand. And he's supported by Nigel, who's in the co-pilot seat. Conveniently, the aircraft is ready to push back from the terminal at Heathrow and head out onto the runway. With the nose in the supersonic streamline position, the pilots have very little forward visibility, so cannot taxi safely or take off. So the design includes a nose lowering capability, which we'll demonstrate to you today. As we taxi out, a few stats. We've taken on about 90 tons of fuel. The crew have spent over an hour on board carrying out all the pre-flight checks. Passengers and baggage are all loaded and the doors are now secure. The anti-collision lights are on. And the navigation lights are on. The heat shield visor is now lowered. As we just see the heat shield light, the visor just disappearing into the nose of the aircraft. This slightly improves the pilot's visibility, but they still can't see the taxiway or runway, so the nose go down a further 5 degrees. The crew start 2 of the Rolls-Royce Olympus engines while on the stand, and the ground connections are released. As the aircraft pushes back, the other 2 engines are started. Concorde is dependent on ground power and ground air start, as it has no APU like other airliners. The taxi out commences. In most airliners, the pilots are situated pretty much over the nose wheel. On Concorde, they're sitting 30 feet ahead of the nose wheel, which makes for some interesting steering. We're now nearing ready for takeoff. Engines go to full power, no matter what the weight of the aeroplane. Maximum is 185 tons. Unlike modern jets, all 4 afterburners or reheat kick in as we go through about 70 miles an hour. Takeoff occurs at 247 miles an hour. The afterburners are on for just over a minute and we are airborne. The aircrew soon begin preparing for supersonic flight. Nose up and visor up as we go through 290 miles an hour. We are overland still, flying at about Mach 0.95 permitting. After just 17 minutes from London Heathrow, we reach the supersonic climb point over the Bristol Channel. Again, full power and reheat, 2 nudges as the reheat comes in, 2 engines at a time. Reheat is applied for about 8 to 9 minutes until we get through the high drag phase to Mach 1.7, which is 1,300 miles an hour. Then the reheat goes off. The engine and intake design enables continued acceleration to just over Mach 2. It's all very smooth. We're getting up to 50,000 feet, which is 9.5 miles up from the ground. Maximum speed is Mach 2.04, which is 1,350 miles an hour, and we're now in the cruise travelling at something like 23 miles every minute, faster than a rifle bullet. This actual Concorde is the fastest ever Concorde. In testing, it achieved 1,450 miles an hour, which is Mach 2.23. An amazing thought when you see it standing here like this today. Outside, the skin temperature is 127 degrees. 153 degrees was the highest ever recorded during trials. And another interesting fact, Concorde expands by 6 to 10 inches after a transatlantic supersonic sector. We're well over the Atlantic now, and we're starting our approach to landing. We slow down to a subsonic speed, 50 miles before the US coast, and descend. Concorde has no flaps, so we maintain lift at slower speeds by pitching the aircraft up at 12 degrees, compares to 3 degrees for conventional airliners. This exposes the huge underwing to the airflow. Once again, we lose all forward view, so the visor comes down. The nose will then drop by 5 degrees. The nose will then drop to 17.5 degrees on this particular Concorde in the test phase. None of the pre-production Concordes had the nose droop to this level. So they were running at 12.5 degrees. So you can see now the actual production Concorde nose droop. Everything you saw way back on TV, etc., the nose was at 12.5 degrees. For landing on this particular Concorde, we have to go down to 17.5 degrees again. And the landing lights will come on. We are now in full landing configuration. As we approach JFK, we're now on finals, nearing the end of our flight. We're approaching at 215 miles an hour, slowing down to 182 miles an hour for the actual touchdown. Just for comparison, touchdown on conventional airliners is about 130 miles an hour, so we're coming in a lot quicker. Once we've landed, fortunately, we're aboard the first airliner, which had carbon fibre brakes, so we could stop quicker than a Boeing 747, despite such a high landing speed. The nose then goes up to 5 degrees for the taxi to the stand. Our pilot shuts down 2 engines for the taxi, and we roll to a gentle stop on the stand. And then finally, to park the aircraft, nose up. Followed by visor up. And a shutdown of all the lights. We are now on the ground at JFK. We hope you had a pleasant flight with us today. On behalf of all the crew, we wish you a safe onward journey. My name's Mark Webster. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day here at Duxford. Thank you.
Nostalgia?
Something you don't see often, isn't it?